Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So, I don't even know how to start this podcast, so let's just get started. um, I saw some trends by way of YouTube from TikTok of people buying Stanley Cups, okay? And by itself, there's nothing wrong with it, right? Like, okay, cool, Stanley Cups, they could be cute. The red ones are cute, the pink ones are cute, that's fine. But then I saw people running down the halls. I saw people fighting each other in line. I saw people jumping over the counter at Starbucks. I saw people fighting each other. I saw people greedily buying 10 of them joints, one either to resell them online or to just hoard for themselves. And it grossed me out. There's something about overconsumption that is really disgusting to me. There's something about people literally being led by society and capitalism and culture to do things that they would not otherwise do just to belong to a group of people who say that I have this thing, right? And it always brings me back to that meme or that clip of, I don't know which Kardashian was like that, but she was like, people are dying, Kim. The scene is like Kim Kardashian crying over an earring, a diamond earring she lost in the water, which I don't know if it had significance to her, if it was, from a family member or something. I don't know. But her sister looks at her and she says, Kim, people are dying. People are dying. People are starving. People are struggling. And you got the nerve to be fighting people in line. I'm going to come back to this. Okay. Then I saw another trend which really turned my stomach, where the 10-year-olds and under girls are going to Sephora buying products they don't need, putting products on their skin like acids and exfoliants. And it makes me so sad because their youth is being stolen from them. Little girls at 10 are not supposed to be thinking about what facial products they're putting on. When I was 10, I might have been using lip smackers because it was pretty and it smelled good and it had glitter, right? I was outside. I was doing all these things, but these girls are getting online earlier and earlier in life, being influenced by these influencers who say you need this thing to be in, right? So both of these things really disturbed me. Seeing people literally fight people sitting outside of Target at 4:30 a.m. for a release of a cup. Let's just sit with that, right? And I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. I think, if it brings you joy, do it, right? Go for it. But we really have to question if we really want to do these things or if we feel like we have to do these things to belong. And so thinking about that, right, took me from disgust and kind of just embarrassment to empathy and sadness. Because what is clear to me is that these people buying these products are looking for something that they will never find at the bottom of a Stanley Cup, that they will never find in a Sephora bag, right? They're looking for belonging. They're looking for love. This is a love issue. These people are buying all of these products trying to fill this emptiness in them, this longing to belong, this longing to be seen, this longing to be enough. The other day, I haven't been following the trend. I never even heard of it, right? I found out by accident on YouTube. But I was I was getting something to eat, and I saw this girl at this local college holding this cup, and it just looked so cumbersome. It was just so big and awkward, and it didn't make any sense because it was freezing that day. Her hands are trying to put in her pocket. She's trying to put her hands in her pocket, and she's carrying this big cup. And in my mind, I'm like, this has to be uncomfortable. Your hands have to be freezing, right? You also look silly because in the wintertime, we are supposed to be taking care of ourselves if you're in a cold place, right? To cover ourselves and be warm. She was willing to sacrifice that just so that people can see this token of, assigned value that we've given a cup, to be like, I am one of you. I belong. I'm special too. Right. And it made me so sad. And the reason why I can recognize that in them is because I recognize it in myself. I recognize, right, the want to belong, the want to be beautiful. If I buy this thing, then I'll be enough. If I get this thing, then I'll belong. I think the way that I was raised has a lot to do with my thought process, because when me and my husband were talking earlier about how we both grew up, with meager means, we had everything we needed, but we didn't have more than enough to be able to buy name brand stuff. So when I was a child, I was teased a lot. I was teased for the clothes that I wore. I got my clothes from thrift stores. I wore off-brand things from Payless or Walmart or wherever, right? Wherever I can find shoes that fit. And I was made fun of for it. And I remember as a child not understanding why I was being made fun of for something that I literally have no say over. And also I didn't care. I was raised in a way that I didn't care about name brand stuff. I didn't care about none of that, right? But I also understand that pain of being rejected and made fun of for not having things, right, that people say that you should have. Oh, you don't have, I don't know, what was popular at the time? Parasuku jeans. I don't even know how to say it. Anyway, Parasuku jeans, I guess. Or you don't have, I don't know, these fancy shoes. I still don't know the name of these things. I don't know the name of cars because I really don't care. Does it work, right? Does it make me feel good? Is it comfortable? That's what I consider, because that's how my parents raised me. Do you have enough space in these shoes to grow? You know what I'm saying? When you're growing up with limited means, you tend to value different things sometimes, because the exact opposite can happen, where now I have money and now I got something to prove to all of y'all who made fun of me, right? But for me, I'm not thinking about them people. I'm not thinking about them people who made fun of me in elementary school, because I don't have nothing to prove to them. And I also understand that they were operating within a programming that they were given. They didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't know why they valued this thing. They just knew that this token meant that I belonged, meant that I was one of you. And again, like I say, on the surface level, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be, I say tribal in a way that is not, I hope is not offensive, but there's a belonging that we all want to have, right? Like, oh, I like this music too. Like we center community around a lot of things: the music we listen to, the food we eat, the places that we go, the schooling that we went to, right? We're very communal people. And so like, I understand on the surface level wanting to be a part of the community because you want to belong. You want to belong. But when you are basing your belonging on things, right, it never satisfies. It's never enough. And again, as I said before, I recognize their emptiness because I understand consuming because I am empty. I might not be buying all of the name brand things and going to the fancy stores, but I definitely watch YouTube videos. I definitely watch movies. I definitely consume in other ways to make me feel full in ways that don't really satisfy. Even though I know buying this thing or eating this thing is not going to make me happy, I'm willing to be happy in the moment because I felt so empty before. And it really brings me to the truth that a lot of us consume because we are empty. We're looking for something to fill that hole and that longing in us to belong, or to see ourselves as enough or whole, or to prove someone else wrong who made fun of us, right? We consume a lot of times because we're missing something. And we think that eating the thing, buying the thing, watching the thing, or consuming however way that we consume is going to fulfill us. And it never does. It never does. This Stanley Cup conversation, the Sephora conversation is multifaceted and multi-layered, right? But at the heart of it, like at the heart of both of it, it's a consumption problem. It's a consumer problem, right? These girls, these TikTok girlies, as they call themselves, shout out to my friend Randall, but these TikTok girlies, they just want to be loved and approved of. Right. And honestly, they're operating how they are programmed to operate, because culture, capitalism, these companies know that we are unfulfilled and empty. They prey on that emptiness to get us to buy more. They make us feel insecure to make us buy the new cream, buy the new car, buy the new phone, because then you'll be enough. Right. This culture thrives off of you not feeling enough, off of you not being enough. Right. And so we consume and distract ourselves because we are empty, because it's easier to eat. I'm speaking for myself. It's easier to eat or to buy the thing, right, than it is to actually do the work of uncovering where this emptiness is coming from and trying to fill it in ways that are healthy. And usually things that are done healthily are done slowly, and that takes time and energy and effort. And sometimes we don't have the patience. So I go into Target. I'm speaking for myself. I go into Target with my little cart and my little buggy, looking for things to buy to make me feel good. And this is how deep it is, right? Like, I will go to Target and I will buy a shirt that says Self-Love Club because I want to love myself more, right? It's easier to buy the shirt that says self-love and proclaim something that I'm working towards than it is to actually do the work. It's easier to spend $13.99 on a t-shirt than it is to spend time and energy and effort and going to counseling and talking to friends and studying myself. Like, it's easier to do that. It's easier to buy than it is to do the work. So I get it. I'm not judging. I'm not judging. It just makes me sad and it grieves me, because what these people don't understand is that at the bottom of their cart or their cup or whatever it is, right, the makeup bags, there's nothing but emptiness and shame. Because then we go on this whole cycle, right? We buy the thing, and this is for me. I buy the thing, I buy it, I feel a high immediately, and then afterwards I feel regret. Because what did I just buy that for? What was that for? That was me chasing a high. That was me chasing some sort of joy. And then you come down and realize, girl, your $30, your $30 are gone, number one. And what you thought it was going to solve and fix, it didn't. And we know that it doesn't. But in the moment, we can't help but be in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, we want that We want that hole filled so badly that we will forsake wisdom just to be in the moment to get the thing that we think that we want. And the truth is, you don't want that cup. I mean, you might want a cup. I mean, it's pretty, right? You might want the cup, but what you really want is community. You really want belonging. You really want status. You really want to be seen for who you are and be loved for who you are. Cup aside, because if it's a Stanley Cup today, it's going to be something else tomorrow. There is always something to buy. There's always something that's going to trend and something that companies are going to sell us to say, hey, when you buy this product, then you'll be enough. Then you'll be happy. But what we really have to sit with is the truth that buying something else is not going to satisfy you. Buying something else is not going to satisfy you. These systems are exploiting us. They're exploiting our loneliness. They're exploiting our insecurities. They're exploiting our fears, right? And all this money is being funneled into these corporations because that money, those dollars are saying, I so desperately want to be loved. And they know this. And I feel like that's why it disgusts me because it's so evil. It's so evil. What I've also found as a creative is that sometimes when I want to consume something or buy something, I need to check in with myself and be like, do you really want to create? Do you really just want to make something? Because creating and consuming for me takes energy either way, right? Creating and consuming take energy either way. When I'm consuming something or buying something, like when I'm walking around the store, I get tired. I get fatigued. When I purchase something, I feel regret. I get brought to a low because that high is gone. But when I'm creating, right, I might be exerting energy, but I'm in flow and I'm in joy. I'm having fun, right? And then at the end, I have something to show for it. I have something I made or a connection that, I made with somebody else or a conversation. I leave feeling fulfilled because those are the things, right? Creating those things, creating the space to make art or creating conversation or doing the hard work of actually, and I say hard because it's difficult, right? It's heavy. Doing the hard work of learning yourself and healing yourself and getting in the right position to be healed and to do that work, right? That takes energy. But at the end of that process, there's fulfillment. There might be more questions, right? But you're open. There is expansion. Where it feels like, on the other hand, when you're consuming, there's a lot of constriction. There's a lot of contracting, right? You're losing money. You feel guilt and shame. You have this stuff that you don't know where to put it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of heaviness because those things were never meant to satisfy us. They might be things that might make our life easier or better, right? I understand the brilliance of a Stanley Cup. I get it. And cups like it, you can refill it. It keeps it cold or warm or whatever it is. But it's not going to fill the holes in my soul and in my heart because it never was supposed to. They are things. They are objects, right? But what is fulfilling to me? Joy, joyful experiences, being honest and having intimate conversations with people, that is fulfilling. Creating music, that is fulfilling. Listening to an album, that is fulfilling. Sitting down and doing nothing, that is fulfilling. Giving away my possessions to people who need them more than I do, that is fulfilling. Because I feel like on some level, like our soul needs things, needs activities, needs connections with other souls, right? Our soul needs to feel useful and impactful and beneficial. It's like our soul knows that we were put here for community, to be in community, but to also help community. You know what I mean? And so when we're fighting each other over cups and over Sephora products and making a mess and making lives harder for people who are already underpaid, right? There's something in our soul that knows that this is an imposter. This is not real. This is not what I really want, right? What I really want is not another beauty product. What I really want is to see myself as beautiful, to embrace my own beauty, not to become a beautiful in a way that they understand or they can perceive or approve of. Like, my want is to see myself as beautiful. What I really want with that cup, with the Stanley Cup, is to feel important, is to feel seen, is to feel like I'm in community. What do you really want? And I think sometimes it takes us a moment. Sometimes I'm standing in an aisle in a store and I'm like, okay, if I'm torn between buying something and not, what do I really want? By me buying this product, what do I think this product is going to give me that it's not? And then how can I meet that need? How can I better meet that need? Maybe I need to just call my friend and hang out over their house and just have conversation. Maybe what I really want is connection. Maybe I need to build my discipline just to sit in my room and create something, right? But those items are going to get old. They're like, think about all the things that we were crazy about, 10, 20 years ago? And it's obsolete now. Now it's corny. You know what I'm saying? Like now it's out of style and out of fashion. Chasing these things that are never ending and never satisfying is exhausting. It just depletes you. And that's why it feels so feels like a contraction as opposed to expansion. On some level, when I'm over consuming, I do feel gluttonous because it is kind of gluttony, right? You just keep consuming and consuming and consuming, where it's like, that's not how God wanted me to live life in general. God wants me to have what I need and maybe some extra, right? And then to share with everybody else. Sharing is more fulfilling to me than hoarding. Sharing feels so good. Sharing the truth, sharing secrets, bringing someone to my sacred places, like telling stories, sharing space, sharing resources. That feels so good. That is the fulfilling thing. And so what I really learned about myself is that, one, I'm grateful for the way that I was brought up, right? And it's not to say that it was better than anybody else, because even that was trauma informed, right? We just didn't have enough. We didn't have enough resources, right? But I think as a child, I learned not to care. I learned not to care about what people talked about my clothes and my shoes and, my hair or whatever else they wanted to talk about, right? Because I had other fulfilling things to do. I was making art. I was playing sports. I was hanging out with my friends. I was blessed enough to have friends who didn't care nothing about that. They didn't care about what I wore. I was blessed to have community around me that valued me for me and not for what I wore, not for what I could do, but for my soul, right? And so I think that our souls want those kinds of connections. And if you feel like you have to buy something or, become someone or wear something to be seen and loved, one, that's not true. And also that's not love. And secondly, there are people out there who are willing and waiting to embrace you and love you for all that you are. These things don't make you. These things don't make you. These things won't keep you company. You feel me? Like you're surrounded by a fortress of Stanley Cups with no community, no one to share it with. You can only drink so much water, right? And at some level, consumption becomes a distraction from the pain and the holes that we're trying to avoid. And at some point, those items that we buy, the clothes, the money that we spend, starts to mock us. It's a cycle. They look at us like, you thought I was going to save you. And it's like, I was never meant to save you. I was never meant to be here to save you. I am a thing. I am an object. We are really looking at these objects and these trends and these things and these people and these degrees and whatever else, these jobs, right? These cars as our savior, as some sort of God to save us, to make us holy, to make us seem like we are important. And the truth is, you are already important. That the company needs you. You don't need the product. The products need you to buy it. Right? That's like literally, if no one buys the product, the worth goes down. The value goes down. Your value doesn't go down. You are invaluable and they know that. You are a resource they keep tapping because they know that you are valuable. They know that you're important. That's how holy and sacred that you are. You literally keep the economy going, albeit in a bad way. But even still, that's how powerful you are. It's really unfortunate that we live in a world where the economy thrives off of people's emptiness and their insecurities and their fears. Because when things are driven by fear and emptiness, it's evil, right? It's corrupt. People will be corrupt to do the thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's why when I talk about buyer's remorse, why I feel so remorseful is because I know that I'm buying into the system, right? And at the same time, I have so much grace for myself. Because all my life, since birth, I have been programmed and advertised things to say that these things will satisfy me, that these things will make me enough, right? So there is grace there. But I think overconsumption feels so gross because, one, there are people who go without. There are people who go without what they need: food, water, shelter, clothing. You know what I mean? And here I am, just spending all this money and all these resources, and which is really spending a lot of time because I get money from the time that I spend, right? So I'm dedicating my time to these products, to these thoughts that I don't even agree with, these beliefs that if I have this, then I'll be enough. I believe that I am enough. Even sometimes I don't feel it, right? But I believe that I am enough, that God qualifies me, right? That I'm a good thing, right? And I'm allowing these companies to manipulate me into buying and turning my arm into buying these things, thinking that one more product will satisfy. One more thing will satisfy. One more cent spent, then it'll be enough. Then I'll be enough. And it never is. It never is. Greed, this corporate greed is so heavy and wears on us all. We all feel it. Everybody is impacted by greed, whether that be the corporations telling us that we're not enough, right, to make more money, or people buying up products. I remember I will never forget this, okay? I will never forget this. During, 2020, when COVID first hit, and everybody was buying toilet paper and hoarding it, it was just so disgusting to me. It turned my stomach. Like, y'all don't have washcloths at home. Y'all don't, like, let's say that you did run out of toilet paper, right? It sucks. It's not convenient, but you're in the house. There are people who are unhoused who will not be able to afford toilet paper because of you. And you're indulging yourself, like, and you creating a fortress with your wealth, right? Your greed is taking things out of other people's pockets. Greed affects us all, right? And because the corporations are greedy and they're teaching us to be greedy, right? And they benefit, right? They benefit from our greed and our emptiness and our brokenness. They benefit from that. So of course they're going to keep telling us to be greedy and keep buying, keep consuming. It's no sweat off their back. You know what I mean? They're not ethical. You know what I'm saying? So like they're convincing us to be greedy, and they're also convincing us to not love ourselves, right? So then we buy things, we hoard things, we don't share things. We're taught lies that if we share, we lose. And that's not the truth at all. It's actually the opposite. When we hoard things, we lose. When we hoard things, the value goes down. People will tell you about savings accounts, right? When you hoard your money in your account, they'll tell you that the value of the money goes down. When you hoard a product that is supposed to expire in a year and you got 25 of them joints, the product is going to expire. The value is going to go down. But when we keep things in circulation, when we let things breathe, right? Just like that water analogy. When water is standing still, it attracts mosquitoes and it's not drinkable, it's not potable, right? But then when the river is flowing, it's oxygenated, it's being cleaned. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you bring abundance, by sharing, by keeping things in circulation, not by hoarding. But like I was saying, greed is so heavy. Greed is so evil. And it is such a lie that like, oh, when I have all this stuff, then I'll be enough. A lot of people who are greedy are afraid. They're afraid. They're hoarding this stuff because they're afraid they're not going to have what they're going to have. They're afraid that they're not going to have what they need when they need it. They're afraid that other people are going to take things from them, that other people thriving means them losing, right? It's them buying into the lie that America has taught us, right? And sadly, people go without because of greed. The reason why there are hungry people and unhoused people and sick people, like who can't pay their bills and things like that, is because of greed. It is a direct effect of greed. And it keeps us distracted and empty and ashamed. Being distracted by buying and consuming, it keeps us distracted, empty, and ashamed. When I think about landfills, it just makes me so disgusted. It makes me so disgusted for a few reasons. Number one, right? Nothing in nature wastes. Nothing in nature wastes. Like when we think about the trees falling off the leaves, a lot of people collect leaves and throw it away because they think it's trash. No, the leaves turn into fertilizer. Like nature wastes nothing. Nature contains itself. It takes care of itself, right? And we are nature, but we are acting in an unnatural way. We are using resources and things that are unnatural and evil and unstable. And that's the reason why the things won't break down. Plastics, right? Other things like rubbers, these kinds of things have been manipulated from nature and made into something unnatural and sometimes corrosive or sometimes poisonous, right? And then therefore we have nowhere to put it because we made something evil out of something good. So even when I think about like the death of animals, for example, I kind of live in the sticks. And so sometimes you will see a dead animal on the side of a road or, nestled back in the woods somewhere, and you'll see a bunch of vultures. I don't like the sight of vultures. They're just scary. They're just scary. And they're kind of ominous, but also they're beautiful in that they take care of the dead. Like they make an animal's death, they make it honorable. There is no waste. There is no waste. They're almost like the pallbearers of nature, like vultures are. You know what I mean? Like they get a bad rep. But like, I really do think that God creates everything to take care of itself. So like, even when there's a fallen animal in the middle of the woods that nobody will ever see, they're taken care of, right? And things benefit from that death. Where I feel like here in the West, right? In this Western world, nothing is sacred. We don't value anything. We don't see anything as sacred. We don't see death as sacred. We make money off of people's death and their grief. How disgusting. How disgusting. How dishonorable, right? When people are grieving and crying, the first thing we say, oh, how can I make a buck out of this? Because one thing people are going to do is die. To me, there's something demonic about that. That's another conversation for another day. Like, what is ethical and what is not? You know what I mean? Like, I know it takes resources to do the thing, but half of these churches are empty during the week, right? When funerals are happening. And I really do believe that some of these funeral homes are taking advantage. But that's another thing, another conversation for another day. It's also multi-layered, so we won't get into all of that right now, right? But the point is, nothing in nature wastes. And waste, using air quotes, is taken care of in a honorable way. We, on the other hand, humans with all of our arrogance and pride and ego and thinking we know what's best and we know better than nature, now we have all these landfills around the world of trash. Like it's really junk now. Like it's really taking up space that could be used for housing or could be used for animal shelters, right? Like as in like the woods, not like a building to take care of animals, but like the animals' homes were destroyed to make room for our waste. If what we're creating and making is unsustainable, we have to rethink some things. It's not working. But yes, in nature, nothing wastes, right? There's no waste in nature. The question is, when we see a lot of waste and a lot of like waste, even in our own lives, what is unnatural? What is unnatural that's happening? Like, it's unnatural to think me, a beautiful woman, that I am not beautiful. Like, it is unnatural for me to go buy these products thinking this product is going to be the solve. And obviously, right, like there's exceptions, right? There are exceptions to the rule. It was like, oh, this actually does solve the problem. But for the most part, a lot of us are consuming because we are empty. What is something natural we can use to address that emptiness, not to fill it, right? Maybe we need to feel it and understand where it's coming from. What is it saying? What does it need? What does it desire? And that takes time and effort and energy. And we won't have it if we're always spending our money, our time, our resources on things that never satisfy. The truth is we're human, right? The truth is that we are communal people, that we are insecure, that we are afraid, that we don't know what we're doing, right? And we're easily programmed because that is true. And what also, when I say that, there's nothing wrong with that. That is human. That is being human. The problem are the corporations. You are not the issue. You being insecure, you worrying about consuming, I am not shaming you because I'm right there with you. You are not the problem. The problem is the messaging sent out from these corporations that we are not enough, that when you buy my product, then you'll be enough. When you eat this food, then you'll be enough, right? That's the issue, right? And the corporations decide what is valuable. It's all fake. It's all fake. It's all programming. It's all advertising. It's a science. It's a manipulation, right? It's psychology. All of this that we're being told is valuable and like this will change our lives, it's all fake. It's all fake. I think I've really been sitting with the fact that nothing is really the products that I think are going to fix my life. None of that stuff is really as valuable as I think it is. Like, I think this is going to be the life-changing experience, or this is going to be the life-changing item, or this will be enough. When I watch this, then I will know, right? But it's not addressing a bigger problem. A lot of these things are covering a massive hole. We're covering it with, plywood and, I don't know, things that we think will hold for the moment. But plywood is not meant to be there for forever. At some point, we have to resurface the thing. At some point, we have to repair the thing. At some point, we have to address the places that are prone to breaking or falling apart because it's compromised. We have to go back to those places. And all that stuff is not going to be solved within, this podcast. But we just got to call the thing out. Like, that is the first step to fixing anything, is being honest about that thing. So what now? Like, how do we begin to fight these systems that want us to hate ourselves? Number one, question what we really want to buy. When we're sitting in the aisle and we have that thing in our hand and we're kind of like, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I really trying to buy? What am I really trying to obtain? Is it the feeling I think the shirt is going to give me? Is it the feeling I think having this product is going to give me? Is it the belonging that I'm going to receive by having this? The approval of others that I'm going to get? What are you really longing for? And then sometimes put it down. Put it down and walk away. Walk around the store and then question yourself and be like, give yourself time to think. I think a lot of these corporations benefit from us feeling rushed and pressured to buy. Like, even there's, it's on sale for 30 days. You got to hurry up and buy now. Or, only the first 100 people. Like, it's this fake, it's this false sense of scarcity that, like, if you don't buy it right now, it's not going to work, right? The benefit that you receive from pausing for a second is amazing. Like the benefits you receive from questioning things, like what do I really think this product is going to give me? What do I really want? Do I want a self-love t-shirt, or do I really want to love myself? And then committing to that, putting money into things that feel expansive, into things that actually fuel the goodness in our lives, not the things that just feel good or the things that we think are going to feel good when people approve of us, but the things that are actually tried and true good things. What are examples of this? For me, spending food eating out with my friends because we're having conversation feels good. It doesn't always have to take place in a restaurant, right? It doesn't always have to be me spending money. We can meet at someone's house or sit in a car. What do I really want? I want connection. I want love with my friends, right? So we don't have to spend money necessarily all the time to spend time together, because that's what I really want. The food is not the thing. It's the sharing space with each other. Here's a big one for me. Sometimes for myself, I buy books because I want the person in the book to validate how I feel and what I think, right? Because sometimes I don't think that my thoughts are enough. I don't think that they're good enough. And so I'm buying this book, not necessarily to learn new things, even though that new things are in there. I'm buying the book to validate how I feel and how I operate. There was a book about being sensitive, and I can't remember the author right now, but it's about sensitivity. And I know that I'm a sensitive person, right? And so I thought that by buying the book, when I got to the root of my thoughts, why do I really want this book? It's not really to learn more about me. It's really to validate myself, to be like, hey, there's a scientist that has done peer-reviewed studies to prove that I am a sensitive person and my sensitivities are a gift. But the thing is, I knew that before that book was even published. I knew that, but I needed somebody to validate it for me because I didn't really believe that my own thoughts and opinions were good enough, were valid enough, right? So what am I looking for? Validation. What am I looking for? Belonging, understanding, right? And sometimes that understanding can come from myself and not from other people. So pause for a second and ask yourself, why do I really want this? And I also want you to consider that this is not a place for shame or judgment. Like, this is not me judging you because I fall victim to the same thing. Again, I was looking at them Sephora girls with sadness and sorrow because I knew what it felt like at 10 to not love my body. I knew what it felt like to look at my body at 10 years old and be like, I'm not pretty enough, right? At 10, even before then, right? And these girls have phones now. They have constant access to influencers and commercials and advertisements telling them that they're not enough, using them to fuel the economy, using the insecurities and the desperation of 10-year-old girls to fund their product, to fund their company, to pay their salaries. Their salaries are being paid in blood. And it makes me angry. And I don't know, how do we combat that? You know what I mean? Like, I figured if and when I have kids, I won't let them have a phone. But it seems like advertisement is everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there is advertisement. There is messaging telling us that we are not enough. We are not enough. So really consider, who is this message coming from? Consider, who does it benefit for me to hate myself? Who does it benefit for me to buy this thing? Does it benefit me? Does it benefit those 10-year-old girls? No, it's a money game. And sadly, if you want to find, the evil, follow the money, okay? Follow the money. We are their cash cows. Our insecurities are their cash cows. Our attention are their cash cows. And I don't want you to be another cog in their wheel, another few cents or a couple of dollars in their paycheck, right? What I really want is for these things to starve. I do. I want these corporations to starve. It just is what it is, because they're founded on evil and insecurity and lack and scarcity. And all these evil things that they push out into the world. They're not selling this product and saying, hey, you're already beautiful. You want to try our moisturizer because it's gorgeous, right? Like, you're already gorgeous. You know what I mean? It's saying, hey, you have dry skin. Hey, you have wrinkles. Hey, you have gray hair. Hey, you're fat. Hey, you're dark skin. Hey, your skin is not even, right? Buy our product. It is so mean. It's so ruthless. And you are too holy and sacred for all of that. What I want most for you to remember from this episode is that none of these products will ever satisfy. It is a lie. Not another thing will make you feel whole. And it's scary because we look to these products to make us feel whole. And when we get there, we get depressed because we feel tricked. We feel lied to, right? That shame that we feel is not ours. It's the anger towards the corporations and all those people who lied to us and told us that if we buy this thing, if I wear this thing, if I have enough, then I will be enough, right? And then we realize that it was never enough. It would have never been enough. If I don't think that I'm enough now, I will never think that I'm enough. So what is this? This is an invitation to look within. There's nothing wrong with buying things because it feels good or because you enjoy the way that it looks. I'm here for it. But when we're talking about overconsumption, when you are sitting in a line at 4:30 a.m., and I pause when I say this because I understand that there are people who collect video games and all these different things, right? And it's a thing for them and that brings them joy, right? But if at the end of buying this thing, you feel an emptiness and now the cycle begins again, consider breaking that cycle. Consider that the cycle is actually exploiting you. Like, you're not exploiting it. You're not benefiting from it. It's exploiting you, right? So if you're feeling empty, pause for a second and question, do I need this thing? What do I really want, right? And then who does this benefit? And understand that no products, no spending money, nothing will ever satisfy that hole in your heart, that desire, that longing for your soul to be fulfilled is not going to be found at the bottom of a Stanley Cup, because it never was. Those are just things that are going to turn into garbage, filling landfills, right? Landfills are filled with our emptiness and our longing and our insecurity. Like, landfills are so ironic to me, and God is so poetic, but like, it's so ironic because it's just a bunch of trash being filled every single day. Today is trash day, by the way, where I am, and they just pulled up and grabbed the trash. But the trash landfills are filled with the broken hopes and dreams and the desires and the emptiness and the holes of people. And the bigger that hole gets, the bigger our landfills get. There's a direct correlation between consumption and not being fulfilled. There's a direct correlation between our insecurities and the money that we spend. This whole system is evil. This whole system is evil. This whole system is evil. And the thing is, there are corporations and businesses and nonprofits and just like solo people trying to disrupt those systems. But sadly, they get overpowered because they don't have the money behind them. They don't have the voices behind them, right? There are products that are actually legit. One reason why I like the store, it's all the same, right? It's all marketing. So it probably is still evil, but I see their approach and I respect it. I really enjoy Ulta Beauty because Ulta Beauty doesn't come from, hey, I'm trying to make you beautiful. It's like, you are beautiful. Here's some stuff to help enhance the beauty you already have. I appreciate that marketing because the hope is that you're not walking into the store thinking, oh, I want to be beautiful like them. The hope is to be like, I want to be beautiful like me. You know what I mean? So finding those corporations, and I'm sure if I dug deep, I could find some evil things about Ulta too. So I'm not, platforming them as like the place because they still benefit from insecurity. It is a beauty shop at the end of the day. But like finding corporations that want to work with you and not against you, don't want to make you the enemy, not profiting from your insecurity, but like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Doing things ethically. Like if you have the time, and I understand also this is a very privileged conversation because we'll talk about that at a different time, but consuming ethically in America is hard. It's hard because we don't really have a lot of ethical options that are available to all people and all, budgets, as I call it, budgets. Like, we don't have that option, especially if you're a person who is poor, right? A person who is experiencing poverty or is below, people talk about the middle class now not existing, but you know what I'm saying? People are struggling. So everybody doesn't have options to not shop at places like H&M or Sephora. Sephora to me is expensive, but other places, you know what I mean? So I get it. But if you have the time, consider. If you don't have the resources, you have the time. Take a moment to pause. What am I buying this for? That question alone can disrupt so many systems. If we all just paused for a second, what do I really want? What do I really desire? And who does this benefit? And how can I actually do things that fulfill and fill my soul and not deplete me or make me feel anxious or remorseful or, regretful at the end? Chasing a high, being content. That is the solve, right? What are the things that make us content? So I hope that this was helpful and informative in some sort of way, or made you think just a little bit. I wanted to offer my own thoughts about the things that are going on in the world because it is wild out there. And it just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I see what these people are longing for: love, belonging, like peace, you know what I mean? Self-love, all these things they think they're going to find in a book or a cup or in makeup. And the sad truth is we know where this ends. None of those things will ever satisfy. But leaning into the truth that we have always been enough, disrupting these systems, that's how we start to heal. That's how we start to see ourselves as enough. And that's how we start to fill that hole in our soul with goodness and nourishment and healing. And that takes time. That takes resources. So have grace with yourself along this journey. Do not judge yourself. I'm not judging you. This is a safe place. I love you. Make sure that you love you. Make sure that you see you. And I will talk to you all in the next one. All right. Bye.